What's up, everybody? It's Kavon from FunctionalFitnessVA, and today we're working on the bent press. That's B-E-N-T, the bent press, because I'm bending underneath the weight to get it locked out and then stand up with it overhead. It's a great way to move a heavy weight from the rack position to overhead, heavier than you can strict press, push press, side press, or jerk, really. Turkish get-up, maybe, if you work on it, but it's a very skillful move and you need to work on it. It requires a lot of mobility and technique. So the best place to start is down here in half kneeling. All right, we do a open half kneeling. You open up that front leg. You're going to get the weight in the up hand. That's the hand of the front leg. You side rack, you rotate, and then we're going to hip trigger as I reach to the ground. And you have that stability point here in the half kneel that you don't have from standing. That's one of the two reasons why, to me, it's a better position to learn the technique. All right, the hip trigger you heard me mention is a key thing, because as you hinge from that hip to get your body underneath the weight, you need to keep the weight where it is, and that's when you extend from the elbow. So elbow and hip are linked here. One doesn't move without the other when doing the bent press. All right, whether you squat or you hinge doesn't matter, as long as you hip trigger, and that's side rack, rotate, reach to the ground as you hip trigger. Right, and I keep saying hip trigger, but that's a hip hinge. But you got to link it to tension into that up arm so that you're extending from the elbow. So side rack, rotate my body, keep pressure here, tension, hip trigger as I extend from the elbow, then stand back up with it, or hinge back up with it from the half kneel. Side rack, rotate, hip trigger, extend the arm, stand back up with it. Again, sounds simple, but requires a lot of technique. Here's an even more safe way to do it. The dog leash drill or the yoga strap drill from standing, it's a great one. I put it under the foot of the hip triggering leg here, or the leg opposite where the kettlebell is. It passes behind me, and then I hold it in my hand here, and I work on that hip trigger. Now you notice I'm squatting a little. I like to squat a little more in my bent press. Some people like to hinge a little more. Whatever works best for you and your body, but you got to play with it and practice it to figure that out. So I side rack and rotate, and I hinge from the hip as I press into this yoga strap that isn't going to move. And that kind of is representative of the weight. You don't want to be moving the weight up overhead. You want to just keep tension against the weight so that it stays put. Right? So we do it from standing. We can also come down. There's the hingier version, right? Hip trigger, hip and elbow are linked. I seem to be repeating myself, but it's a key point that a lot of people miss and you really need to work on. So from half kneeling, I make a loop with it, put it around my down knee, right? Get it on there. Because when you're standing, you can just adjust your foot and step on it. When you're kneeling, not so easy to adjust your foot and step on it. So I pass it behind me, grab it in that up hand, same deal. Keep tension into it, hinge from the hip as I keep that yoga strap taut. And there's my bent press movement. Bent press. All right. You gotta work on that hip trigger. Again, the key components: first you get the weight, you side rack, you rotate, and then the movement starts getting you into position. It's getting you set. And then the movement is hinging and maybe squatting a little as you keep pressure into that weight so that you move away from it and it stays put. Here we go with the Russian red from standing. I clean it. I get my foot position, kind of open, somewhat like a windmill. Side rack, rotate, hip trigger to get away from it, stand back up with it. Fairly simple. Again, practice it with the yoga strap, half kneeling. Practice it with a kettlebell from half kneeling. Practice it with the yoga strap from standing. And then you can work on it with a kettlebell. Now, if you need some rotational mobility drills, just kind of pointed to them. Hopefully they're popping up on screen there as I point to them. Check those out, because that rotation of the upper body does help. But then work the technique.